Okay, welcome back. We are now ready to start implementing this clip moving behavior. Now, here in the Reload SMG animation, we can see that there are two key points where we want to start moving the clip. So we're going to start when she grabs it here, and we're going to stop when she puts it back right there. So we can go into our Reload montage and add a couple of anim notifies. So we're going to want to zoom in on Bellica just so we can see where her hand is, and we're going to put an anim notify right here when she grabs the clip. So we're going to do it right about there, and here in the notifies bar we're going to right click, add notify, and new notify, and I'm going to call this notify grab clip. And then I'll scroll forward a bit until the point where she's putting the clip back, and looks like I overshot her animation when I was editing her animation. That could easily be adjusted, so I'm not going to focus on that in this video. But right here where she's putting the clip back, that is where we're going to stop moving the clip. So right here I can put another notify, so I'm going to right click, add notify, and new notify, and call this one replace clip. So now we have two anim notifies, and here you can see how the notifies are sort of overlapping with each other. We can fix that over here in the notifies section by clicking track and insert notify track, and now we have two different tracks, and we can adjust and have one on one track and the other notify on the other track, and that's simply to allow us to see these notifies without them overlapping. Okay, so we have the grab clip and replace clip anim notifies. We can save and close out of that montage, and now we have notifies. Now we're going to want to make a couple of blueprint callable functions so that we can have these be called with those notifies. So let's go back to C++ on our character class. So here we are in C++. I'm going to shooterCharacter.h, and I'm going to add a couple of protected functions up here. So I'll make a void function called grabClip, and this is going to be a U function. We're going to make this blueprint callable. That way we can call it from the anim notify, and so our comment here is going to be called from animation blueprint with grab clip notify. I'm also going to create a function for the release clip notify, so this will be called release clip, and this one will also have a blueprint callable U function macro. And for this comment, we'll say called from animation blueprint with release clip notify. So now we have grab clip and release clip. And so these will handle the functionality that we need to happen when we grab and release the clip. So we'll go ahead and give these function bodies. Okay, so they now have function bodies. Now in the weapon class, I'd like to add a Boolean called bMovingClip. Let's add this Boolean. It's going to be a private variable. So I'm going to stick this down here in the private section and call this bool bMovingClip, and this will be true when we're moving the clip. So we'll say true when moving the clip while reloading. So that'll be an easy way to keep track of when we're moving the clip. Okay, so here in shooter character, we created this grab clip and release clip function. Now in shooter character.cpp, if we go to grab clip, what are we going to want to do here? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to check to see if we have our equipped weapon. So if equipped weapon, and if equipped weapon is equal to null pointer, then you know what we're going to do. We're going to return. We don't need to do anything. But after that, we're going to want to get some information. So for one, we're going to want to get the transform of the clip. We need the clip's location and rotation, so that's going to be in the clip's transform. So we can get that using the index of the bone on the weapon mesh. So we do that as follows. We're going to make an int32 called clip bone index. And we can get clip bone index by accessing the bone on the weapon mesh. And that bone is going to be that clip bone. Let's go back into the editor and see what that bone is called. So here I have Bellica guns. And if I search for clip, you'll see that here it is attached to the weapon. There is a bone called SMG clip. And remember, if we come down here to take a look at it, we can rotate that clip. We can use translation mode to translate the clip. So SMG clip is the clip for the bone. Now, this is going to be different depending on the weapon that we're using. So each weapon should have its own name for this special bone for the clip. So we should add a variable to the weapon class that we can set, and that way it'll store that name. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that translation there. So let's go back into C++. So here we're getting our clip bone index. And like I said, we need that bone name, and you'll see why in just a second. And then we'll add it to the weapon class. So clip bone index will be initialized by getting our equipped weapon. And from the equipped weapon, we're going to get our mesh by calling get item mesh. And from the mesh, there's a function called get bone index. This is a function on the uSkeletal mesh class. Now get bone index, as you can see, takes an f name, and that is called bone name. So we need the name of the bone in order to get the bone index. So we're going to create an f name and add that to the weapon class. So here in weapon, we're going to create an f name, and we're going to call this clip bone name. And we're going to make this a U property, and we're going to make this edit anywhere, blueprint, read, write, and we'll give it category weapon properties and the same meta specifier as the other variables, so that way we can set this from blueprints if we want to. So for the comment, we'll say name for the clip bone. Now we're going to give clip bone name a default name. And so we'll initialize this using a text macro. And since we've been sort of treating our SMG weapon as the base weapon, we'll use that SMG clip name. So it was called SMG underscore clip. So that'll be the default name, and we'll have to change this as we add new weapon types. So we have this clip bone name, but this is a private variable, so we need a public getter. So we're going to create a getter for this f name. So down here, we'll create a force inline function. It returns an f name, and we're going to call this get clip bone name. It's going to be const, and it's going to simply return clip bone name. So now there's a public getter for this. So back here in shooter character, when we're initializing clip bone index, we're calling get bone index, and we need to pass in that name. We're going to simply pass in equipped weapon and call get clip bone name. Just like that. So I'll stick my semicolon at the end here, and I'm going to give this a comment and say index for the clip bone on the equipped weapon. So why do we need the bone index for the clip bone? Well, we did all of this so that we could access the transform of that bone. We need that bone's transform. And we can get the bone's transform from the equipped weapons mesh like this. We're going to say equipped weapon. We're going to get the item mesh. And from this uSkeletal mesh component, we can call get bone transform. But get bone transform requires a bone index, so that's why we have clip bone index. Now get bone transform is going to return an f transform, and so we need to store this in a variable. So we're going to create a variable here on the shooter character class to store the clip transform. So let's go to shooter character.h, and down in the private variables section, way down at the bottom, we're going to add a private fTransform variable. So this will be fTransform called clip transform. Now clip transform is going to have a uProperty macro, and we're going to make this visible anywhere because we're setting this from C++. So it'll be blueprint read only. And I'll put this in the same combat category and give it the meta specifier as usual. And I'll give this a comment. And this will be transform of the clip when we first grab the clip during reloading. Okay, so that is a variable for the clip transform. Now remember, we also wanted to have a scene component, and the scene component is going to use that initial clip transform as an offset when we attach it to our hand. So let's create a uScene component, and let's call this hand scene component. This is going to be attached to the hand and used to move the clip. So this will also be visible anywhere, blueprint read only, combat as the category. So let's give that same uProperty macro here. And for the comment on this one, we're going to say scene component to attach to the character's hand during reloading. So we now have a clip transform and a hand scene component. So back in shooter_character.cpp, we're getting this bone transform, and we're going to store this in that variable called clip transform. So I'll give this a comment here and say store the transform of the clip. So as we first start grabbing the clip, we're getting this clip transform, and what we need to do now is take our hand scene component and attach it to the mesh and set its transform equal to the transform of the clip. So this is the point where we attach the scene component to the hand with the transform of the clip. So to do that, we're going to use attach to component, which requires some attachment transform rules. So there's a struct called fAttachment transform rules, and we can call this attachment rules. Now, fAttachment transform rules has a constructor that takes an enum of type eAttachment rule. And we're going to use eAttachment rule keep relative. And the reason is we are attaching the scene component to the mesh on the hand bone, but we want to keep the relative location because we want that offset from the hand to the clip. Now the next argument is a Boolean called in weld simulated bodies, and that's basically, are we welding these bodies together? And I'm going to say yes we are, so true. And next we take our hand scene component and we're going to call attach to component. And attach to component requires a component to attach to. We're attaching this scene component to our mesh, the mesh of the character, and we get that with get mesh. Next, it needs those attachment transform rules, which we called attachment rules. So we're going to say attachment rules. Now it needs the socket name of the hand. Now if we go back in the editor and we find the Bellica mesh in Paragon Lieutenant Bellica, characters, heroes, Bellica, and meshes, here's the Bellica mesh, and we're going to search for hand, and here it is, hand L. This is the hand we're attaching our scene component to. So we need this hand L, so that is a bone name we're going to use. So for attach to component, we're going to pass that in as our next argument. It's going to be fname, and we're using the text macro. And this will be hand underscore capital L. So we've attached our hand scene component to the mesh on the hand L bone. And then we can take our hand scene component and set the world transform of that bone with set world transform. And this takes a transform. We're going to use the clip transform. So we're getting our hand scene component, attaching it to the mesh, but we're setting its transform equal to the transform of the clip right at the point where we're grabbing the clip. And also we have this Boolean on equipped weapon that we created called bMovingClip. Now we can set that. And if we want to set it from the character class, we need a setter. So we can go ahead and in the public section create a setter for that variable. So we're going to make it a void function called setMovingClip. It's going to take a bool called move, and it's simply going to take bMovingClip and set it equal to move. And of course we can make this a force inline as well. So we've got our public setter here. So in shooter character, we can call that. So we can say equipped weapon and set moving clip, and we'll set this equal to true. And I'm going to copy this because in release clip, we want to set that back to false. So that will be what we do in release clip. Okay, so this will set us up to have the transform information that we need on our hand scene component when we grab the clip. Let's go ahead and compile this code, and then we'll make sure that we're calling these blueprint callable functions from the animation blueprint. Okay, so we're back here in the shooter anim BP, and I'm going to go ahead and right click, and if I type grab clip, then here's my anim notify grab clip. And from this, I can call my function from the shooter character. So I'm going to copy this shooter character node. I'm also going to copy this isValid node so we can check to see if shooter character is valid. And if it is, we can drag off of shooter character and call our blueprint callable function that we also called grab clip. So we can call that here. And I'm also going to get my other anim notify, which I called it replace clip. So I'm going to get our shooter character and isValid. With both of these selected, if I hit Control W, then that will copy and paste them for me. And from shooter character, I can drag off and type replace clip. I might have called it release clip. I did. Unfortunately, I called it release clip. So the names of the notify and the blueprint callable function are different, but that's okay. That's not the end of the world. We could go back and change it, but I'm not going to. I think it's not important enough to change. So these will handle grabbing and replacing the clip. So that's going to conclude this video. So in summary, we've created blueprint callable functions, grab clip and release clip, and we call those with our anim notifies grab clip and replace clip, which we put on our reload montage. So let's take a look at our reload montage real quick. Here they are, grab clip and replace clip. And as soon as we reach this point in our animation, which is the point where we're grabbing the clip, then we call the grab clip blueprint callable function. And once we come to this part where we're replacing the clip, then we call our blueprint callable function release clip. And most of the heavy lifting is in grab clip. That's the function where we set our scene component to be attached to our hand bone. And we also set its location equal to the clip location. And we also set our weapons boolean called bMovingClip. We set that to true so that way we know that we'll be moving the clip. So in the next video, we'll actually handle moving the clip. So we'll see you in the next video.